Zampala. Welcome to Bhutan e-learning project. I'm Kalpana Giri from Yangchenpo High Secondary School, and today I'll be taking you through a geography lesson for Key Stage 4, which is for classes 9 and 10. So today's lesson is about climatic zones of Bhutan. I have few lesson objectives here. So the first lesson objective is, by the end of the lesson, dear students, you all should be able to list the different climatic zones of Bhutan. You should be able to state the factors affecting the climatic zones in Bhutan, identify the places that are located in the particular zone, and then finally, you should be able to explain the relation between climate and humans. So, climate and weather is very important for all of us, and in your previous lesson, you have already learned about the factors that are affecting the climates in our country. So, let's revisit what is weather and climate. Weather and climate are important for life on Earth. Here I have a simple definition for climate as well as for weather. The day-to-day condition of atmosphere is known as weather, whereas climate is the average weather conditions for a long period of time. These are the elements that determines weather and climate. So, temperature, rainfall, wind and humidity are important elements of weather and climate. I also have few differences between weather and climate here. So, weather is the condition of the atmosphere in a specific place at a given point in time. These atmospheric conditions may take place day by day, minute by minute or seasonally, whereas climate is the average weather conditions over a place, and it mostly takes place after 30 years of time. Weather may involve just one condition of the atmosphere, whereas climate includes all the conditions of atmosphere such as temperature, precipitation, wind, humidity, cloud and pressure. Weather occurs in a place within a short period, whereas climate takes place over a long period of time. Weather is what you got on a daily basis. The overall changes and variations of climate are very stable and may take decades or centuries to occur. The scientific study of weather is called meteorology, and meteorology studies weather. The scientific study of climate is called climatology, and climatologist studies climate. So, with this brief few differences, let's proceed to our next lesson. So, today's main lesson is the climatic zones of Bhutan. So, before that, what are climate zones or what are climatic zones? Okay. So, I know all of you must have written your own answers. So, here is simple lines for climatic zones. Climate zones are areas with distinct climates which occur in east-west direction around the earth and can be classified using different climatic parameters. So, the parameters are, climatic zones are determined by temperature, precipitation and long-term weather patterns in an area. So, the parameters and elements are same here. So, climatic parameters are temperature, precipitation and long-term weather pattern of a particular area. Then we have 4 major climates in the world. So, the first one is tropical zone, which starts from 0 degree latitude till 23.5 degrees of latitude. Then second one, we have subtropic zone, 23.5 degrees to 40 degrees of latitude. Then we have temperate zone from 40 degree to 60 degrees of latitude, and finally we have polar zone from 60 degrees to 90 degrees of latitude. But there are many subdivisions of this zone again. So, here is the world climatic zones. So, can you see where our country, in which zone does our country fall? So, it falls on subtropical zone. So, now coming to our lesson, today's lesson, the climatic zones of Bhutan. So, the physical variations such as altitude and orientation of mountains and valleys have created different climatic zones within Bhutan. According to the climatologist, Bhutan can be divided into 4 different zones. So, the arrangement of mountains, the altitude and the valleys have classified our Bhutan, our country, into 4 different climatic zones. So, these are the 4 climatic zones of Bhutan. Number 1, in the southern foothills we have subtropical zone. Then in the central Bhutan we have temperate zone. Above temperate zone we have sub-alpine zone, and then finally in the northern part of the country we have alpine zone. So, the first one is subtropical monsoon climate zone. So, this zone extends in east to west direction along the southern foothills and stretches into lower valleys of inner Himalayas. It lies in the region that is 200 to 2000 meters. The mean monthly temperature ranges from 15 degrees Celsius in winter to 30 degrees Celsius in summer. So, by looking at the mean temperature, we know that this zone is not very cold in winter. It has warm and moderate winter. The annual rainfall is usually above 2000 millimeters because this zone, because as altitude increases, temperature decreases. But here, this zone lies in the lowest altitude here. That is why they usually have more rainfall. Temperature and rainfall vary from valley to valley in the interior. Not all the places in this zone receives equal amount of rainfall, because by looking at the altitude only, some places it receives maximum rainfall, whereas some receives little less. Then frost and snow are hardly seen in this zone because it is hot in summer and warm in winter. Then this zone enjoys cool moderate temperature and relatively dry weather. Here spring is marked with violent stormy winds and hailstones, that is why, which causes damages to houses and crops. During spring season, the weather becomes drier and temperature increases. The monsoon wind from the Indian Ocean and the Bay of Bengal brings moisture that give rise to cumulonimbus clouds, which brings heavy showers. So, here I have the picture of cumulonimbus clouds. Cumulo is a type of cloud associated with thunderstorms and heavy showers. And then nimbus here is a Latin word which means rain. So, these clouds are formed beneath 20,000 feet and are relatively closer to the ground. And then they also produce lightning. That is why in the southern parts of the country we have lightning and thunder. Then due to constant rain, the atmospheric humidity is always high during summer season. Moisture and heat contribute to the rapid growth of weeds and creation of wet ground where mosquitoes breed. This zone is very much troubled by mosquitoes. That is why people who are living in this zone must take all possible precautions against malaria infection. So, some parts which lie in this zone are parts of Samsi, Chuka, Sarbang, Samrup Zonkar and lower valleys of Wangdi, Punakha and Trongsa. So, in this zone, in the subtropical monsoon zone, we find scattered or dispersed type of settlement. Also, we have tropical forest there, and then we have thick bamboo forest. Then the next climatic zone of Bhutan is the temperate climate zone. So, this lies between 2000 meters to 3000 meters. The average daily temperature during winter varies between 5 and 15 degrees Celsius, while the average daily temperature in summer ranges from 15 to 30 degrees Celsius. The total annual rainfall varies from 1500 millimeters to 2000 millimeters. As the altitude increases, temperature decreases. That is why we also have now the rainfall also goes on decreasing. The winter in this zone is marked by cold winds, low temperature at night, moderate temperature during the day, cloudiness, light shower and snowfall. So, here in this temperate zone, spring landscape is marked by violent winds. The monsoon rain in this zone comes at the same time as that of subtropical zone, that the source of the wind is same, that is southwest wind, which brings moisture to this zone. Lightning and thunder, cumulonimbus clouds and light showers dominate the weather here. So, they also experience rain during mid of June till September month. And then because of at times because of continuous rainfall, there is a landslide which causes roadblocks. Because of the general north-south orientation of the mountain ranges, monsoon winds reach the inner valleys, which provide a passage for moist winds. Usually, rainfall is not evenly distributed all over the valley. Because of the arrangement of mountains, which is in north-south direction, some parts of the temperate zone do not receive equal amounts of rainfall. So, mountain ranges stand in the way of approaching moist winds, creating windward and leeward side. So, here if you look at the picture, we can see that the vegetation is quite different from the leeward side here. In this windward side, the vegetation is green because of the prevailing wind direction, whereas on the other side it is dry. So, this example can be seen if you are driving from Thimphu to Wangdi Phodrang. In Dochula, where it is a windward side, we have cool broad leaves forest, whereas in the drier side, that is in the Wang Valley, we have coniferous forest. So, the places which falls under temperate zone are Paro, Thimphu, Wangdi, Trongsa, Mongar, Bumthang and Trashigang. Then next zone we have is Sub-Alpine climate zone. This lies between 3000 meters to 4000 meters. The total annual rainfall varies from 1000 millimeters to 1500 millimeters, while the temperature is around 8 degrees Celsius. The weather in this zone is marked by mist and fog, cold winds and light rain during the short summer and snow in the winter. Winter is quite harsh for both humans and animals, so they migrate to lower altitude valleys. Here now, as altitude is increasing, temperature is decreasing, that is why it is very cold compared to temperate zone and the subtropical monsoon zone. Here even in summer season, the weather is marked by mist and fog, winds and light rain, and during winter it is fully covered with snow. That is why people living in this zone, they follow seasonal migration. The places that falls under Sub-Alpine zone are Laya, Lingxi, Lunana, Gogana, Busa, Seifu, Dur, Ura, Merak and Saktin. So, all the high altitude places here. And finally, we have the Alpine climate zone. So, this is the last climatic zone that we have in our country. So, it is located above 4000 meters. Alpine here refers to climate or vegetation found on high mountain peaks. Because of very low temperature and freezing conditions, tree cannot grow in this zone. Instead, mosses and lichen strive in this kind of places. The popular herbal and aromatic plants of Balu and Sulu, which is used for making incense, are found on high mountain meadows. The permanent snow line is found at approximately 4800 meters above sea level, and then above this 4800 meters, snow never melts. And also in this zone there is no summer as such, because it's very cold and it's fully covered with snow throughout the year. Snow-laden winds called blizzards and occasional snow avalanches occur at this height. High mountain peaks like Jo Darshing, Jomolhari, Jichu Dreki, Masangang and Gangkar Pinsum are located in this zone. Okay, so with this we have discussed about the 4 climatic zones of Bhutan. I am sure you have learned something. And then to recapitulate what we have discussed today, first we learned about climate and weather, then we discussed about the 4 climatic zones. So, the 4 climatic zones are subtropical monsoon zone, then we talked about the temperate zone, we also talked about the subalpine zone, and then finally we talked about the alpine zone. Then next I have here is about climate and humans. So, the settlement patterns and work habits of humans are greatly influenced by such natural conditions as slope of the land, altitudes, temperature and rainfall. So, people like to settle where the climate is moderate, where there are more flat valleys. Extreme conditions of these factors tend to have a negative influence on the settlement patterns. So, nobody likes to settle in the steep mountains, and nobody likes to settle in the place where there is excessive heat or high temperatures. Okay. So, we have seen in the earlier lesson that alpine zone, nobody has settled in the alpine zone, whereas in the subalpine zone it is sparsely populated because of its climatic condition and altitude, whereas the settlements are crowded in the flat areas where the climatic conditions are moderate. So, this is the population map of Bhutan, and if you look carefully, we can see lots of people have settled in the southern foothills and in the temperate zone, where the climatic condition is favorable for them, where the weather is warm, and where they have where it is favorable for them to do their work. So, in many parts of the world, humans have modified architectural designs for buildings and invented methods and equipments designed to heat and cool their dwellings over the limitations imposed by nature. So, people, to overcome the nature's limitation, people have designed or constructed their houses in such a way that they could live there. So, for example, if people like to settle in high altitude regions where it is very cool, they invented methods to thermal. They have invented methods to warm their house, and then if they are settling in the desert, they have also invented to cool their house so that they could adapt and then settle there. And many birds and animals respond to climate change by migration. So, some birds, they migrate during winter season, whereas some animals, they sleep and use up the fats they have stored during the summer, and whereas snow leopard, they like to stay in the alpine region or high altitude because they have a thick fur which keeps them warm. So, climate is also a very important factor in determining the growth of trees and other plants. Different plants have responded to the different types of climatic conditions in different parts of the countries. It is through the knowledge of types of climate and altitudes of new potential farm sites. So, here I have the pictures. Different types of vegetations have adapted in different types of climatic conditions. So, to end the lesson, today we have discussed about difference between weather and climate, 4 climate zones of Bhutan, climate and humans. Then as an extended learning activity, I have few questions here. So, first one is, what could be the impact to the people if there was only one climatic zone? Do you think climate affects the lifestyle of people? Justify your answer with 3 points. Then finally, how do animals and birds respond to climatic change? So this is the end of the lesson. To recapitulate what we have learned. So firstly, we discussed about climate and weather. Second, we have learned about the climatic zones of Bhutan. Then third, we also learned or we also discussed about the relation between climate and humans. And then we all know that how climate is important to us. So with this, I'm ending my lesson here. Be safe and stay home. Thank you.